Dear students, today we shall take up some kind of discussion on extended writing. So, before going for extended writing, let us just have a kind of review of all the things which have been told so far by my predecessors, just like paragraph writing, summarizing, reporting and letter writing, both personal and business correspondences. So, you have I think you have some knowledge about these things, starting from you can say ICT, you can say related draftings, just like telegrams, emails, personal you can say sending emails. So, just and this is the last thing we are going to discuss, extended writing. So, before we go for a kind of discussion, let us understand what do we mean by extended writing. In all other forms, there is a typical format. Suppose someone is writing a letter has a kind of format, so a kind of paragraph. So, there is a limit to the words. You will be asked to write a paragraph using a number of words which is limited 150 or 200 like this, and there is also you can say just like you have to limit that kind of paragraph to a single paragraph. But now you find this is an extended writing. This is somewhat which is not guided, all right. Guided in the sense you will be having a kind of independent, you can say drafting or independent writing, basing your information, available knowledge or some kind of a data or some kind of you can say statistics, you may go for a kind of writing. Before that, let us have a knowledge that what are the types of writing. So, many times you might have some kind of access, some kind of you can say reading of different kinds of prose passages or is prose pieces. So, basing on your knowledge and previous discussions, you can say clearly demarcate or clearly know that some passages are narrative in nature, some are descriptive in nature, some are argumentative in nature, some are expository, analytical like this. So, when we write a paragraph can be written on anything, whatever we see, whatever we observe, or you may try to write on anything. So, subject matter is unlimited. So, you can write on politics, you can write on school, you can write on a dream which you have seen, or you can write a passage on the first day of your school life. So, anything whatever you see, whatever you have experienced, but the mode is different. Someone you have to write, someone you have to take recourse to narrative prose, sometimes it is descriptive in nature, sometimes there is a kind of you can say if the subject matter is argumentative, two sides are there, whether we should go for one or the other, then you have to examine both the things, pros and cons, merits and demerits. So, that kind of theme or subject matter demands a kind of argumentative narrative. And sometimes suppose atomic bomb, or you can say Rafale, you can say jet. So, some information is needed. At that kind of thing, you can go for a kind of paragraph which is somewhat different from narrative or descriptive argumentative. And at times, if you have been given a problem or a kind of you can say reflect, or suppose COVID-19. So, you want to impart or you want to share your feelings, your knowledge or your expertise with others, then you can go for a kind of analysis of the entire thing. So, these are types of prose passages. So, usually I should give you some kind of hints. Narrative, that means you are narrating an incident. Certain things have happened or you have experienced a kind of thing, you can take recourse to narrative prose. So, narrative prose demands a kind of time arrangement or chronology. The first thing first, the second thing second, third thing, then fourth, likewise. usually the order is not changed, everything is written as per time. So, if the first thing has happened first, then that is to be written or dealt with in the first place, then likewise like this. So, that means you are narrating an incident, and the kind of prose which is used is narrative prose. So, suppose you have seen the beautiful scenery in the rainy days, or it is a winter evening, then you can describe such scenes or certain, you can say, scenery, or a kind of your feelings about the entire thing. Argumentative, when there are two sides. Suppose someone will ask whether death sentences are good or bad. A death sentence should be there or it should be wiped out. Then there are two sides. Some people will say in favor of that, some people will say against that. So, at that time you need a kind of prose, you need a kind of narrative which is descriptive from other kinds of format, other kind of language, other kind of vocabulary. So, at that time you can take recourse to argumentative prose style. So, when you want to discuss or you want to say something, your knowledge, your expertise, or what you know about a particular thing, you can go for simple statements one after another. Just like in a paragraph you arrange things, there will be a topic sentence followed by several passages, and each paragraph should deal with a separate kind of you can say key sentences or a heading sentence. So, analytical, you are analyzing a kind of problem, whether this shutdown or lockdown should be there or not, then you can go for a kind of prose passage which is different. So, this is all about the type of a prose which you need when you go for a kind of you can say extended writing. So, extended writing does not have a typical form, all right. Just like in case of letter writing or report writing, you have a prescribed kind of a pattern. Here nothing is there, it is just a kind of thing where you are to deal with a specific kind of subject matter, and subject is multifarious, multiple. On anything you can write, but the language which will be used, the vocabulary you are going to choose will be somewhat different from the other kind of thing. Whatever can be best described in narrative style cannot be described in analytical manner or in a kind of argumentative manner. Or when you want to describe a particular kind of a scenery, you have to go for certain language which is usually different from expository type or analytic type or argumentative type. So, then come to another thing. So, why do we write? So, writing is a kind of a sharing. So, the moment it is just like just take the situation, present situation. I want to say something on extended writing. So, this is oral, I am giving out anything, whatever I have learned, whatever I have gathered, whatever I have collected, I am just imparting, sharing my knowledge about these things to you all. Likewise, when somebody is writing something, he wants to share. So, what are these things which are shared? The knowledge or the information which is available with the writer. So, the writer writes. So, whatever he has to write, he has to depend on his knowledge on the subject. So, subject is specified here. If I am to write something on biparty system or Odisha government or COVID-19, so or rainy season or your school, likewise these are subject matter, these are themes. So, this is unlimited. You can write on atomic bomb, you can write on Rafale jet fighter. So, subject matter is multifarious. When you know that you know something about those things, you can share those things. So, this is a human tendency to share our feelings, our knowledge, just like the poet writes or composes a poem. That means he has something to say and he wants to say, and he says it through a kind of poem, or he sings a song. That means he wants to give his feelings, share his feelings with others. Likewise, first of all, knowledge is required, information is required. So this information can be gathered from different sources. Let us say you can read many things, you can go for, you can say Google search or other things, or you can collect information from newspapers, from magazines, from different kind of articles. Then you have a kind of you just read those things, gather those things, then settle down those things. All right. So ideas will just come, they will just swarm. Then you have to just settle down and arrange those things. Then you have to say, you have to write on that subject through a kind of arrangement, and the kind of prose which you feel that can best express your ideas, you have to choose whether it will be narrative prose or expository prose or argumentative prose. That depends on the subject matter which is given to you or on which you are going to write a passage. This may be a single passage, there may be multiple passages. All right. So there is no limit. In case of extended writing, you can go for several paragraphs. Unlike paragraph writing, when you are asked write a paragraph on my first day on school or my first day in my school, then that's one single paragraph. Or suppose the dream which I saw yesterday, if it is a single passage, write a paragraph, then it will be limited to a single paragraph. But when you are asked to write on these things, you have the liberty to go for different paragraphs, one after another. So all the ideas which you have gathered, you collect those things, then think over these things, arrange your things, then settle down, then systematically represent one passage, then another, then another, then another. It should have a kind of beginning, a middle, and a kind of ending. Let me just say that all the ideas which you want to share can be done through a kind of extended writing. It is just like essay. You are going to write an essay. Essay is a very common or traditional, a kind of familiar kind of thing. So previously you are writing an essay on these things, but now we are using the modern day people, they say that it is extended writing. So essay writing comes under extended writing also. So suppose it is my dream India. Suppose the topic is my dream India, or you can say future India. Suppose this is a topic which you have chosen. So what are you going to do? You have to gather information from different sources. Then this is your title. Then how to arrange, that depends on you. You are the sole judge what to speak first, what to speak next. So then you just, whatever you have collected, all the information, all the data, all the statistics, all the sayings from different people. Suppose many statesmen or politicians or political leaders or people, they have said something about India. All right. So you have all quotations, sayings. So you know where to put those things. It's just like making a kind of a cake. So certain things are necessary. Then you have to cook it in the oven and add something there so that the cake will be very tasteful. Likewise, your ideas have to be imparted. You are the sole judge how to arrange those things and how many paragraphs will be there, and you have to be selective. Not all things which you have collected are to be mentioned here. Certain things which are very common, ordinary, you can get rid of them. Suppose you have 10 information or 10 ideas. So if you go on dealing with these things, you feel that it will be a lengthy one. So the writer, if you are a writer, you want to speak on, or you want to write on future India or India of my dreams or the dream India, then you see that how best it can be written and how best it can be read by others. Suppose you have written a good thing, but nobody is going to read that. It's so commonplace, so ordinary. Then there is no meaning in writing such kind of things. Just like good poems, just like good writings, good articles, or when you are writing for a magazine or writing for a newspaper, you see that it should best represent your thoughts so that people will be attracted and they will read. Likewise, you gather all the things, be selective, choose what to write, what not to write. So then systematize, settle down for some time, then say that how authentic your ideas are. All the information or all the statements which you have collected should be authentic. That should be based on certain things, based on certain facts. Then out of 10 what you have collected, you choose 6 to 7 or basing on the time limit and the word limit. So usually in your case, if you can go for you can say book 4, there is a question pattern on mark division is given. So there's a length is almost limited. You have to write a paragraph on this, or you are extend this kind of thing, or you are to compose this kind of within these words. So if it is about 150 words, the usually 1 page. If it is 200, then 1.5 a page in normal handwriting. So thereby you know what you are going to write, you know your subject, you know your limitations, you know what is the time and the word limit. Then think over and decide what to write, what not to write. So usually ordinary things, familiar things, or with which people are most commonly you can say acquainted, you just get rid of these things. Find out certain things which will attract your readers. So start with a kind of idea. The very first sentence should be very important, because it is just like when a feast, when we are going to a feast, you take some kind of, you can say certain items which are provided, thereby you feel like attracted, right, the beginners, and then you can go for the main meal. Likewise, if the beginning kind of thing will not be good, the end cannot be good. That's why you just see the starter must be good, the very first paragraph should be good, but the very first appearance of that particular composition should be attractive, should be powerful, should be significant. It should draw the attention, and it should almost force the reader to continue till the end. So usually when you give a title, the title should be very specific, very apt, very appropriate. It should be short. At the same time, the very first sentence, that should be very attractive. And then you carry forward all the things, one after another. All the key points which you are going to deal with should be dealt in a kind of a manner. And I should not say that all these things should be chronologically arranged. It depends on you, the writer, how to change. Usually the order is the beginning, the middle, and end. You have a statement the very first, and at the end you must end, you must conclude. If you have started with that the future of India is very bright, suppose you have started with this kind of thing, the end should also be in such a manner so that this idea that the future India is very bright, then that should tally with the last, or whatever you have begun with must end with the same kind of thing, or the beginning and the end, they must look alike, or it is just like that whatever you have stated in the beginning should be concluded in the same line. Suppose in the beginning you have said the future of India is very bright, at the end you conclude the entire essay or the piece with a kind of bleak picture of future India, then I think that will not be a good piece of writing. So that's why I say that the entire writing, suppose you have several points, out of 10 points you have selected 7 points. So one after another you deal with all the 7 points. Your beginning and your conclusion, that means the introduction and conclusion, they must tally, or whatever you have said you must conclude in the same manner. India's future is very bright. If you have stated like this, at the end you say that India would be superpower, India's future is very bright, and my dream India is like this. So this should be catchy, this should be attractive, so that when the reader will start with the very first sentence, he will feel like continuing with subsequent paragraphs, and it will have a kind of pleasant experience or a kind of pleasant impression on the reader. Who is the reader? You cannot choose your readers always. You have written this is the title, this is a subject matter. So at times your reader is fixed. Suppose I am telling all these things, I know who are my audience, or who are the readers, or who are the listeners. But when you are writing for a kind of newspaper or a kind of article, then you do not know who are the readers. Mostly it is multifarious, and a kind of college going student can read it, a businessman can read it, a politician can read it. So at that time you can say readers are of a different type, or they have been drawn from different strata of the society. So that my point is this: when you are not fully aware of the readers, you write things which will not injure the mindset of your multifarious listeners or readers. So if you feel like that you know certain things which will be debatable or which will attract a kind of you can say legal complication, try to avoid these things. Suppose you are writing an essay on RSS, a voluntary organization. So go for those things very positive, but don't put certain things by which that will attract some kind of legal complication. So to keep yourself at a safe distance, you can pinpoint on this thing, whatever you have collected, all the information, all the data, statistics and the sayings from different things should be there to reinforce or to substantiate your arguments or your statements, so that when the draft is complete, then think over it, try to edit it. Edit means you will have a kind of review what you have written. So the topic is, suppose RSS, a voluntary organization, or India of my dreams, or future India, or certain things, whatever, bi-party system in India. So these are subject matters. You know who are the readers, but it is sometimes known, sometimes it is not known. So think that it is now exposed to everybody. Whoever feels like he can go for it. So my point is, after having a kind of rough draft, rough writing, you just review the entire thing, have a kind of rereading from the beginning till the end. Suppose you have written this essay or this short piece of writing using 1000 words. So when you go through it, you become somewhat critical. All right, you just feel like reshaping these things. When you will read it, you just read it as if you are the reader. You are not the writer, you are the reader. Find out where you have some certain ideas repeated. Find out things or lines which are extraneous or which will just attract some kind of complication, or find out if you have given some kind of data which is not based on facts, not based on records, just eliminate those things. Then you can edit and review and then go for the final draft. That becomes a good piece of writing, and now it is going to be published. So this is the method of producing a kind of extended writing. Extended writing, it's a vast kind of thing. Here there is nobody to just supervise you. You are given the idea, or you have decided your idea, your subject matter, your theme, and you feel like sharing, because it is a human tendency to share our feelings, our ideas. By sharing we can multiply. The sole aim is to educate others. You know it, and you know it better. You know that you have thought over the entire thing in a different manner, or your thoughts should be shared. So if this tendency is not there, if this feeling is not there, you are not going to write. It's just like, if I shall give you a very simple kind of thing. Just like, who is a poet? A poet is a man speaking to men. Many people see the rose. Rose flower is good, it is beautiful, it is attractive. Suppose this is rose flower. Many people like me used to see it, but not all of us are poets. Likewise, it has some attraction. We see it, we are attracted, but we cannot just keep that attraction for a longer period. You forget those things. But there are certain people, those who feel it, those who are attracted by it, and they start sharing the feeling that rose is such a beautiful flower, and that kind of joy, that kind of delight is to be shared. So the man who shares this kind of thing, he feels that the beauty which is there in the rose flower has been observed by him in such a manner that it has not occurred to others. The feelings are there, the feelings are not stored for a longer period, or the way he has or she has observed has not been observed by many. Likewise, here I want to just bring a kind of parallel, that India of my dreams, we are all Indians, but we are not writers. Not all of us are writers. So likewise, just like this is a theme or subject, this is also another theme or subject matter. So this is just like there is something to be shared, here there is something to be shared. Then just like the poet, you are the writer here. That is, the medium is poetry, or here the medium is prose. There are stanzas, here these are passages. So it all depends on you, how to arrange things, what to speak, what not to speak. Usually certain things which be there, ideas will just swarm, many things will come at the same time. It is just like waves breaking by the seashore. Alright, waves after waves, they will be dashing, or they will be just at the seashore, breaking by the seashore. But now all waves are that high. Likewise, all ideas which are swarming your mind, you should not to deal with all the things. You should be selective, find out which will create a kind of interest, create a kind of inquisitiveness in the minds of the readers, so that they will be hailed, or they will be arrested from the beginning till the end. Once they start reading, they cannot stop within, they will stop at the end of it. And your mission is to share your ideas about India, your ideas about COVID-19, your ideas about RSS. So the ideas which you have carried, you have felt that they are authentic, based on facts, and you have to transmit. And you need a kind of a prose, a kind of vocabulary, or certain medium by which it can be best expressed. So on the whole, let me summarize that in a good piece of extended writing, what is needed is collection of ideas, arrangement of those ideas, then going for some small paragraphs or outlines, then extending those outlines to full paragraphs, then your beginning and ending, they must tally, there should be just like complementary. Whatever you have said in the beginning, you must end in the same spirit. It should not be confused kind of a thing. All the things which should be explicitly stated, and that will not injure you. It should take care when you are writing a piece of praise, then you feel that you are not going to injure the mind or create unnecessary complication. So, all the things should be taken into consideration when you are going for a kind of extended writing. So, we can sum up extended writing this way, that you are creating a piece of independent writing where there will be no guidance, nothing else. You know your limit, you know your subject, and you are writing a piece of, you can say, short composition, let us say composition, that may be a single paragraph, that may be a kind of multiple paragraphs. A piece of composition, it is extended from one paragraph to several paragraphs, and the subject matter has been dealt by you, and where you are sharing. So, what is shared? All the ideas which you have gathered, all the information which you have collected, all the statistics which you have collected from different sources are transmitted. So, you are the writer and you are transmitting all the things through a paragraph or extended writing to the readers. Who are the readers? The readers are many. All right, age wise they are different, religion wise they are different, from, you can say, in the social strata they are also different. It may be read by a politician, it may be read by an old man, it may be read by a small boy, or it may be read by an educationist or a scientist or an engineer, or it may be by anybody. That is why you must see, you must take care, you must be very careful in writing in a manner by which your piece of writing would be read and understood and enjoyed. Three things. First, it should be read, then it should be understood, and then it must be enjoyed. So, that is why you need a kind of vocabulary, or you can say words, use of words. The more you know to use words specifically which will best express your thoughts, the words which are used when you are writing an essay on rainy season would not be fruitful, would not be, you can say, befitting when you are writing an essay on atomic bomb. Suppose you are writing an essay on India of my dreams, then you have specific types of words, and that type of words are different from this kind of descriptive words. When we are describing a scene, my village during rainy season or winter evening, you need a kind of vocabulary set of words. But when you are dealing with Rafale jet, you have to use certain words which are specific, words chosen from engineering, words chosen from aerospace engineering or from military terminology. Certain jargons. So, be familiar with this word, jargon, specific kinds of words for specific subject matter. So, my point is this: you have the knowledge, all the ideas are transferred through this piece of writing, and the medium is the language. The language which is chosen is such that you are using a specific kind of vocabulary, specific kind of words which will best express your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings, and you should see that all the things are read, then understood and enjoyed. So, I think you got my point. Suppose you have written down an essay on COVID-19 or a small piece of paragraph on COVID-19. I use all the terminology, medical terminology taken from, you can say, infectious, you can say infections, or you can say medicine or some disease or these kinds of things. Usually used or spoken by doctors. And I am writing an essay for, suppose, a newspaper, Odia newspaper Samaj. So if you just find that it is almost filled with jargons, nobody is going to read it and understand. So you must take care that whatever you write, whatever you want to say, you should say in a manner by which others will understand. Unless understood, it does not have any meaning. It is just like I have told many things, but you are not able to understand what I have said. There is no meaning of holding such a kind of class. Likewise, it is the duty, or the writers should be very careful in using a kind of vocabulary by which he can best express his thoughts, and the piece of prose which is written or produced should be read, understood, enjoyed, so that knowledge is transmitted. Whatever I have thought has been transmitted, and now it is in the domain, public domain. All right, public domain. So anybody can use the information which I have transmitted by them. They can also use those things there. Just like we have read some essays or some articles, we have gathered information and I have transmitted those things. Likewise, when it is in public domain, it can be a source for many people. So this is how I have tried to say what do we mean by extended writing, what are the types of prose which are used, and who is a writer, what are the forms which are available with us, and when we transmit our ideas in the written form, then what kind of language which you should use. And then in your book, let us come to your text. So it's a good piece of writing here, where he has clearly said, thrown light on different kinds of things. So there they say there is a kind of review of all the things which has been taught to you beforehand, paragraphs, developing ideas into paragraphs, note making, report writing, interpreting graphs, using graphics. So these things have been dealt. Now he says in all those things there is a specific form, but here you are somewhat independent. Only limitation is choice of words. How many words are to be used and what is the time. You cannot just go on writing for, you can say when you are writing for examination, you cannot write for the entire 3 hours on a piece of writing which you have to draft. So likewise, this is the kind of thing which is the limit. But when we are writing for a newspaper, when we are writing or contributing an article to a magazine, then you don't have a kind of time limit. There the sole care is to be taken as to how that will be a good piece of prose, so that knowledge will be transmitted, and those readers, those who are drawn from different kind of strata and they having different kinds of abilities, understanding ability, so it should be written in such a language so that it will be read, enjoyed and understood. All right. So here they have given you some you can say passages. Suppose in page 125 there are some outlines which are given. Usually in case of your examination, just like sometimes you are asked to write an essay where the outlines are given. Likewise, at times you will be given some outlines on which you can build a story. Either in the beginning or the first sentence will be given, certain lines in between that will be given, and the ending is given. In case of a story, story also comes under extended writing. So beginning is given, ending is given, in between some description is there, you have to complete. So, you should fill in the gap. Suppose this is given, the ending is given, within that certain ideas there. Word limit is suppose 200 words. So, then you can give a title, a kind of name, then begin and end. So, this happens in case of story. An essay, just like India of my dreams, if it is an essay, you are writing an essay, then you have some information, you have collected those things, then put those things here. So, if it is a guided writing, then there will be some outlines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, likewise these things. You cannot deviate, go beyond these outlines. Alright. Suppose India of my dreams, suppose this man's attitude is very positive, he says India's future is very bright. Then in the beginning there will be key sentence, at the end there will be a kind of concluding remark. In between you are to fill in with certain sentences by which the end and the beginning, ending and the beginning, they must be complementary. Alright. You just cannot create confusion. You cannot just go in such a manner so that the entire writing would not be conclusive and homogeneous. So, ideas will be there, but all the ideas which you have filled in, they should contribute to the beginning and the end. The entire essay should look like as if it is a whole, not a kind of amorphous kind of thing, that means a heterogeneous kind of thing. One thing is here, there is another kind of thing, this line should not lead to the other, there will be another sentence which will not be in the line. So, you should take care as a writer to see that the entire essay on that subject would look like a wholesome kind of thing, wholesome product. Alright. So, this is also essay writing, this is another paragraph writing, or you can say these are all these things, they come under this. So, this is independent, you have the liberty to choose your theme, choose your subject matter and deal with the subject matter in such a manner, and you have to choose the kind of prose, analytical prose or expository prose or argumentative prose or the types which will best suit your theme, your subject matter. So, the writer on his own can choose, he has that liberty. Just like I have given you the example, suppose a rose flower is very beautiful. So, you can also write a short paragraph on the beauty of rose. You can also compose a poem on that rose flower, the beautiful flower of rose. That is your subject matter. Can be dramatized, can be composed as a poet. You can also write a paragraph on the rose flower. The choice is writers. The writer has to choose the method in which his ideas about the subject would be transmitted to the other party, that means the readers. So, here in your you can say there is a good example which is given in page 131. Should death punishment be abolished? I am repeating once again my idea that the writer has to choose, select the kind of prose. So, if this is the topic, should death punishment be abolished? So, here you have to adopt the argumentative prose. The kind of vocabulary should be different from the kind of vocabulary when you are narrating an incident which are chronological arranged as per the time sequence. Alright. So, here you have to choose what are the positive sides, what are the negative sides. So, each kind of a subject matter is to be dealt differently. So, that depends on the reader also. So, here in page number 133, there is also a hint given here how to write or how to compose a story basing on outlines. The beginning is given and some incidents are given and the ending is also given, and there you have to apply your imagination how to stretch the very first till the end, so that throughout the reading, when someone is going to read that story, he will not feel bored, he will enjoy it, even if the things are somewhat fanciful, but all the things will be there, so that it will be a good experience for the reader. So, again here in 135 page, there is another example, 3 minutes of hell on earth. So, my point of giving you all these things is solely meant on one thing, that subject wise, theme wise, you are independent. You can write on anything which you have experienced, which you have seen, or which you have observed. You are to adapt your way, the kind of vocabulary, the kind of language, the kind of prose. You are independent, and only limitation is when you are writing for examination purpose, you have a limitation, either word limit or time limit. And then I have said that whatever you have written, your draft should be a final draft. You just gather all the information, settle down, go for some outlines, draft a kind of rough draft, then go for the final draft, and then go before that you go for kind of editing. Just think over entire thing, reshape, streamline whatever you have written, then only I think that will be a good piece of prose or good piece of extended writing. And again I am just reminding that just like you are baking a cake, you are putting some kind of essence, some kind of you can say notes, so that your cake becomes very colorful, at the same time very tasteful. Likewise, you put certain things, certain sayings, certain proverbs, certain rhetorical devices, or certain kind of rhetorical devices. You are acquainted with some rhetorical devices when you have read certain poems in your class. By the time, so I have used these rhetorical devices when you will put those things just like you are putting some essence or putting some kind of knots in your cake. Likewise, your piece of a prose, your piece of writing would appear homogeneous, it will impart a good feeling to others. So, this is how I have things to tell. So, a scientific prose is different from a kind of descriptive prose, and at that time another method I am going to tell, that now there are sources, all right, you can collect ideas from different kinds of sources. So, knowledge is not limited now, it is not the prerogative of a few people, it is now in the public domain, all right. You can search for these things in net, or if you are acquainted with information technology, then you can get ideas. Then you put those things, transform those things in such a manner that will appear as if you are writing certain things and you are contributing to the public domain, and that is in the domain, so that others will have some kind of thing. It is just like popularizing certain ideas amongst people. So, these are all about things, but the whole thing as students you must practice. There are different subject matters which are given, certain problems are also there. So, if you, it is just like mathematics, you know the formula, but unless you work out the mathematics, you cannot score good marks. Likewise, I have told something to you, and here in the book many things are there. If you can search Google, then there will be other examples, test materials. So, unless you practice, nobody is going to help. So, at the end I should say one thing, practice makes a man perfect. So, the more you do those activities, the more you will be successful in your examination. Thank you.